All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome to the very first Black American Sovereignty podcast episode. Okay, I'm hoping that this is one of many episodes, hundreds, thousands, if not. That's the goals, that's the vision that I have for this sort of idea for Black American sovereignty. And I'm hoping that this is just a step in the direction of many more conversations to come. So I'll be your host for this podcast. That's something I will get into later, as well as I have a co-host, and him and I, we're not doing this first episode together. All right, I'm kind of getting the ball rolling myself, but most definitely we'll be collaborating, working together, moving forward to continue to spread this idea of Black American sovereignty, something that him and I came up with, not really came up with as in we're the originators of this idea, but through our own disagreements, we've come to certain agreements about the realities of Black Americans today, and that our vision is that we believe that Black American sovereignty is the solution, it's the answer, it's deserved, it's earned, and we believe that as Black Americans, this is the step that we need to move forward with, or move in the direction of. Excuse me. So I'm going to kick this off by first giving you what is our definition of Black American sovereignty. Okay, but before I do that, let me say a few things. This is my first ever podcast right here. I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm in the comfort of my own home. Okay, I got my children in the house, my family in the house, my wife and kids. So there could be banging, loud noises, yelling, anything like that to come up during this episode. We just really wanted to get this idea off the ground and get this discussion going. So we hope to bring many more episodes, and please work with us through our evolution of understanding how even the podcast game works. So without further ado, let me get into the message of Black American sovereignty. So what is Black American sovereignty? Okay, Black American sovereignty is the realization of Black Americans as a sovereign nation, governing lands of restitution within the borders of the United States of America. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Black American sovereignty is the realization of Black Americans as a sovereign nation, governing lands of restitution within the borders of the United States of America. Okay, so that's a definition that myself and my partner that we came up with our way, the best way that we could come up with to express what is Black American sovereignty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that definition and just expand a little bit more of what that means, okay? So the realization of Black Americans as a sovereign nation. Okay, sovereignty is kind of a foundation that all groups have to establish themselves as, as citizens, or as a nation, a culture, a group, and those sorts of things. And sovereignty is something that, as far as Black Americans go in the United States, we've never had any. We've never had any cultural sovereignty. We haven't had any economic sovereignty. We haven't had any civil sovereignty. We haven't had any sovereignty, okay? And sovereignty is really the ability to govern, educate, really move as a citizen without the influence of outsiders, okay? Now, that may sound far-fetched here in this 2019 world that we live in, but other groups in our own country have been given this same opportunity, okay, both civically and economically. Let's start with the states that we live in. I live in Washington State, okay? Washington State was started by a group of white males that were able to settle a land, come up with a government in the form of a state bill of rights, okay, or a state constitution, okay, and they essentially this group of men were granted sovereignty from the federal government and formed a state of Washington. Okay, this goes back to people like Governor Isaac Stevens. Okay, and that first initial group that were the founders of this state of Washington. So throughout the history of the United States, Not only we're not. I'm not talking about a sovereign nation. Black Americans become a separate sovereign nation within the borders of the United States. We have earned a right to sovereignty. Okay, other groups such as Native Americans. Native Americans are a group of Americans that have their own sovereignty within the United States of America. Now, Native Americans and Black Americans have a vastly different journey when it comes to present day United States. All right. However, here's some similarities. One, the Native Americans had their history, their culture, their sovereignty forcefully interrupted by European settlement. Okay, Black Americans were forcefully brought and enslaved, okay, in this country for the benefit of capitalism, white supremacy, the list goes on. But we have those similarities in our histories, in that our histories have been forcefully interrupted by those cultures, institutions that still exist today in the United States. Okay, so the legacy of terror that we share with Native Americans is very similar. Okay, so the Japanese Americans in the United States, through their wrongful, forceful internment during World War II, okay, they were not given sovereign land, but they were given some economic sovereignty in the form of, I believe it is, 20,000 Japanese citizens were given $60,000, something along those lines. So this kind of ties into the governing lands of restitution. If we as Americans believe in our hearts that slavery was wrong, and it was, where is the justice for that? Not only the slavery piece, but the forceful oppression that has taken place since the Jim Crow era and post-slavery. Okay, where is the justice for that? Do we as Black Americans, why do we accept second-class citizenship just at face value? Why do we just accept our history, the things that have happened to us, our realities today, and just say, okay, now it's just time to tighten up my bootstraps and move on, when other groups have been given compensation for the wrongs that have been done to them? That's what justice is. So governing lands of restitution, this is really nothing given, but this is more so earned, okay? The definition of restitution is the restoration of something lost or stolen, or compensation for injury or loss. So we've had our cultural sovereignty taken, stolen, economic, civil, okay, educational, okay. All of these things that make up a culture have been taken from us, but in restitution, we have been given nothing, yet have been told to be okay with it. And my question for Black people is, for Black Americans is, why are we okay with second-class citizenship? Why are we okay with that? Okay, what is second-class citizenship? Let's talk about it. All right, I'm an educator. So in education, in all 50 states there's no state that Black people have the highest graduation rate in. There's not one. Why are we okay with that? There's no state in which the Black Americans has the lowest unemployment rate. Why are we okay with that? There's no state in which Black Americans are arrested or incarcerated at the least rate. Not a state. Why are we okay with that? Now, I'm not saying let's pick up our guns and start a revolution, because that's a losing battle. But what I'm saying is, politically, civically, economically, why are we okay with that? And there's things that can be done for us to have restitution for the reasons for our current realities, things I just described. Let's talk about home ownership numbers. Is there a state in which Black home ownership is the top when it comes to race? Is there a state where Black Americans are the highest economic earners? Is there a state where Black Americans' household income is the highest in the state? I'll wait forever. So my question is, why are we okay with this? And in my opinion, the only solution is Black American sovereignty. But let me continue on with this definition. Okay, so governing lands of restitution. All right, our ancestors, okay, my enslaved ancestors, those that came after them, those that were freed from slavery, okay, those that were born free, all deserve the right to have the hard work that we have put into this country, the contributions that we have made to this country. We deserve the right to have that benefit ourselves as a people, as a culture, all right, as an economy, all of those things. Now, the last part of the definition is saying governing lands of restitution within the borders of the United States. Now, a lot of people will respond to this sort of idea of Black American sovereignty as, well, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave? No, my ancestors built this country. I am not leaving. This is deserved for all Black Americans. Our ancestors built this country. We deserve to walk around with a sense of pride, being proud of the contributions that our ancestors, that our relatives have made beyond athletics and entertainment. Okay? We deserve the right to have a sense of pride in that my ancestors, whoever I'm related to that was enslaved, okay, they didn't kill themselves. All right. And therefore, I'm alive and I'm proud of that. Okay. They took the worst of everything, dealt with it, found a way to not only continue on, but thrive, do things like have the South as the fourth largest economy in the world for free. We gave away our best work. Well, how about this? I refuse to believe that slavery was Black Americans' best work. I refuse to believe that. Okay. And if it is, then we as Black citizens today, we need to benefit from that. There is no capitalism without Black Americans, yet we're at the bottom of the capitalist totem pole. And all signs and facts point to this. All systematic signs. Let me know where groups of Black people are thriving, okay, in a civic type of way, in an economic type of way, okay, where the benefits are coming back into their communities. Let me know where this is happening at. I could be wrong. Okay, but I don't know of an all Black city that's governed all by Black people, that's taught by Black people, that is ran city managers, okay, the real estate agents. Now, there's some places that are more dense than others. There's no doubt about that. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But why do we not deserve to have the fruits of our own labor benefit ourselves? Okay, the stats is out there on how long the Black dollar stays within the Black community. All right, it's, I can have all of these stats up. These are things that are out there that people are already discussing. Okay, but what I'm discussing is backed up with facts. Black people are second-class citizens in the United States. All right, now, personally, I just want the line to be drawn. Either we're going to be okay with that, or we need to do something about that. And I think that do something it's okay. We simply need to have our own sovereign lands where we can govern, educate, all right, ourselves. Okay? Everything else is simply asking, would you please think more of me? Would you please care about me more? Would you please stop shooting me? Would you please hire me? Would you please not get scared when you see me? That's not the answer. That's not the way. We just need the ability to pull our money together, buy our own lands, all right, be owners, okay? And that's okay. This is the new Black migration, in my opinion, all right? Now, I don't know what this completely looks like. There's way more smarter people than me that are city managers, architects, know how to build this type of infrastructure. But the point is, we have the individuals to do it. We have the people there to do it. Okay. Mostly right now, we're just giving our energy into the same institutions that have put us in the position that we're in right now. That's what most of us spend our time doing. I do. In education, I do. I live in Washington State. Graduation rate is 88%. What is it for black students? 78. Okay? The system has built-in bias still, or we're just not able to find a way to compete at the same level. Either way, I'm not okay with it. But instead of crying about, I ain't gonna say crying is the wrong word. What I'm saying is, instead of giving my energy to other things, will you please stop shooting us? Will you please? No. How about this? Let us get our own sovereign lands and let us police ourselves. It's not really let us. We have earned. All right? We have earned this right. Let us police ourselves. We need to educate ourselves. We need to have more Black history taught in the schools. No, we need to have more schools that are based on meeting the needs of Black students. And that's okay. Other cultures have these opportunities, or have had. Us as Black Americans have made such a contribution to this country that this is bought and paid for. It's donezo. The effort, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the money is all there. We just need to come together on this idea. Black American sovereignty. So I'm going to end this episode right here with just over 15 minutes in. If anything resonated with you, if anything stands out to you, if you got questions, comments, concerns, you want to know more, what should the next episode be about? Again, it's so much to touch on. This is barely the tip of the iceberg. We got so much to touch on. But if anything resonated with you, please leave a comment. All right. Send a message. All right. I want to get this dialogue about Black American sovereignty going, whether you agree or disagree. OK, I personally feel like it's a pretty foolproof idea. I try my hardest to think about what's flaws, what's holes in it. But at the end of the day, Black people taking responsibility for ourselves, for our future, okay, for our own economics, our education, our own government, our own justice. To me, you can't get better than that. The United States is simply better if Black citizens are able to fulfill their true destiny in this country. All right. And I think that's done through Black American sovereignty. So until next time, peace.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the Black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.